Chapter 1, The Reunion. It had been 3 years since the events of the Prehistoric Nature Mod. The world had changed since then, and so had the lives of the individuals who had been involved in that adventure. But for one night, fate had brought them all back together. Rob, Erebus, Lemon, the Italian Paleogirl, B_with her, Indom, Indiyu, JW, Totemaster, PU-238, Orbweaver 9000, Floi and Ham had all been invited to a special gathering. They had all been given a cryptic invitation with no explanation, but all of them had accepted nonetheless. As they arrived at the venue, they saw each other for the first time in 3 years. There were hugs, handshakes, and exclamations of joy as they greeted each other. It was clear that they had missed each other's company. After a while, they were ushered into a large room, where they found themselves standing in front of a holographic display. The display showed a map of the world, with a large red dot pulsing in the center. A voice boomed through the speakers, "Welcome, my friends. I have called you all here tonight for a reason. 3 years ago, you all worked together to save the world from destruction. And now, I need your help once again." The group looked at each other in confusion, wondering who was speaking to them. The voice continued, "My name is Professor Alexei Ivanov. I am a scientist who has been studying the prehistoric creatures that have been brought back to life. I have discovered something that I believe could be catastrophic for the world, and I need your help to stop it." The holographic display zoomed in on the red dot, revealing it to be a location deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. "I have reason to believe that a rogue group of scientists has been conducting experiments on the prehistoric creatures, with the aim of creating a new superspecies. I don't know what they're planning to do with this new species, but I know that it can't be good." The group looked at each other in shock, realizing that they had to act fast to prevent disaster. The voice continued, "I have arranged for a helicopter to take you to the location. You will have to infiltrate the facility and stop the scientists before they can carry out their plan. You are our only hope." With that, the holographic display disappeared, and the room was plunged into darkness. The group looked at each other, knowing that they had no choice but to accept the mission. And so, they set off on a new adventure, their fate once again intertwined with that of prehistoric creatures. Chapter 2, Unsettling Discoveries. As the sun began to set over the prehistoric landscape, the group of friends continued their journey, making their way towards a distant mountain range. Erebus, the fearless leader of the group, marched ahead confidently, with Rob following closely behind. Lemon, the Italian Paleogirl, and B_with her walked alongside each other, chatting excitedly about the new discoveries they hoped to make on this expedition. Indom and Indiyu were busy examining some nearby fossils, while JW and PU-238 were mapping out the terrain. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed across the valley, causing the group to freeze in their tracks. They quickly realized that it was coming from the direction of the mountain range they were heading towards. "Could that be a new species we haven't discovered yet?" Lemon asked excitedly. Erebus shook his head. "I don't think so. It sounded too familiar." As they continued on, the group couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. They arrived at the base of the mountain range to find Floi and Ham waiting for them. "Hello, friends!" Floi exclaimed cheerfully. "What brings you all the way out here?" "We're on an expedition to make new discoveries," Erebus replied cautiously. "Ah, how exciting!" Ham chimed in. "We'd love to join you." The group hesitated, but ultimately agreed to let them come along. As they continued on, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about Floi and Ham. But they couldn't quite put their finger on what it was. Little did they know, the two clones were hiding their true intentions, and their evil plans were slowly but surely coming to fruition. Chapter 3, The Mysterious Message. After finishing their breakfast, the group gathered around a campfire to discuss their plans for the day. Suddenly, they heard a strange beeping noise coming from a nearby bush. Rob cautiously approached the bush and found a small device with a blinking light. As he picked it up, a holographic message appeared in front of him. "Greetings, my dear friends. If you're seeing this message, it means that you've been chosen for a special mission. You must travel to the Forbidden Forest, where a great danger looms over our world. But be warned, the journey will not be easy, and you will face many challenges along the way. Trust in each other, and you will succeed. Good luck. The hologram disappeared, and the device went silent. The group looked at each other, unsure of what to make of the message. What do you think this is all about? Asked Erebus. I have no idea, said Lemon. But we have to go to the Forbidden Forest and find out. The group quickly packed up their supplies and set off towards the Forbidden Forest, determined to unravel the mystery behind the message. Chapters 4 Lost in the Labyrinth. As the sun began to set over the prehistoric landscape, the group continued their journey towards a distant mountain range. Along the way, they encountered a herd of triceratops grazing in a nearby clearing. Erebus, always fascinated by the creatures, eagerly approached them. As he drew near, he noticed something strange about their behavior. They seemed to be moving in a robotic and synchronized fashion, almost as if they were being controlled by an external force. Erebus immediately alerted the rest of the group, and they decided to investigate further. As they approached, the triceratops suddenly turned towards them and began to charge. The group quickly scattered, but Erebus was not so lucky. One of the massive creatures caught him with its horn and sent him flying through the air. The rest of the group rushed to his aid, but it was clear that Erebus was badly injured. They decided to make camp and tend to his wounds, hoping that he would recover quickly. As they tended to Erebus, they discussed the strange behavior of the triceratops. It seemed unlikely that they were acting on their own, and the group began to suspect that something or someone was controlling them. They decided to continue their journey to the mountains, hoping to find some answers along the way. But as they packed up their camp and set off again, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Chapters 5. Title: The Mysterious Cave. As the group continues their journey through the forest, they stumble upon a mysterious cave that seems to stretch deep into the earth. Despite their initial apprehension, they decide to explore the cave and see what lies within. As they venture further into the cave, they begin to notice strange markings on the walls and a faint humming sound that seems to grow louder the deeper they go. Suddenly, they hear a loud rumbling noise and feel the ground shake beneath them. They realize that they may have stumbled upon something much bigger and more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. Chapter 6. Title: The Hunt for the Missing Eggs. As the group of friends continued to explore the prehistoric world, they stumbled upon a mysterious area where all the dinosaur eggs seemed to have disappeared. Worried about the fate of the unborn creatures, they decided to investigate and find out what had happened. But little did they know, they were being watched by an unknown predator lurking in the shadows. Will they be able to uncover the truth before it's too late? Chapter 7. Title: The Search for Pu-238. As the group settled into their new base, Erebus noticed that their supply of Pu-238 was running dangerously low. Without it, they wouldn't be able to power their equipment, and they would be left stranded in the prehistoric world. Erebus and Indiyu decided to lead a team to search for more Pu-238 in the nearby area. They were accompanied by Lemon, B_Wither, and Valleyman Beans. The search was not easy, as the terrain was treacherous and the creatures in the area were hostile. They encountered several dangerous predators, including a pack of Deinonychus and a massive Allosaurus. They managed to fend them off using their weapons and teamwork, but they were running low on ammo and supplies. After several days of searching, they finally stumbled upon a deposit of Pu-238. However, they soon realized that it was guarded by a massive Spinosaurus, the largest predator they had ever encountered. Erebus and Indiyu devised a plan to distract the Spinosaurus while the others harvested the Pu-238. They managed to lure the creature away using a decoy made of spare equipment and some cleverly placed explosives. The team quickly harvested as much Pu-238 as they could and made their way back to the base. With their supply replenished, they could continue their research and exploration of the prehistoric world. But little did they know, a new threat was lurking just beyond their base. Chapters 8. Title: The Hunt for the Missing Fossil. As the group of friends continued their journey through the Prehistoric Nature Mod, they stumbled upon a missing fossil that was believed to be lost forever. The fossil belonged to a rare species of dinosaur that was thought to have gone extinct millions of years ago. Excited to have found such a valuable artifact, the group decided to take the fossil with them to bring back to their base camp. However, as they continued on their journey, they noticed they were being followed by an unknown entity. Unbeknownst to them, Floi and Ham were hot on their trail, determined to steal the fossil for themselves. The friends were unaware of the danger that lurked behind them, but they could sense something was not right. With tension rising, the group began to feel like they were being watched. They set up a makeshift camp for the night and took turns keeping watch, but it was to no avail. Floi and Ham managed to sneak in and steal the fossil without anyone noticing. The next morning, the group was devastated to find that their hard-earned discovery was gone. They knew they had to track down the thieves and get the fossil back. Their adventure continued as they set out on a new mission to retrieve what was rightfully theirs. Chapter 9. Title: The Hunt for the Missing Orbweaver 9000. After days of searching, the group finally realized that Orbweaver 9000 was missing. Everyone was worried and anxious about what could have happened to him. They knew they had to find him as soon as possible. They started to search the nearby forests and caves, hoping to find some clues. Erebus used his enhanced senses to help locate any possible traces of Orbweaver 9000. They searched for hours but found nothing. Just when they were about to give up, they stumbled upon a strange cave deep in the forest. The entrance was hidden behind a waterfall, and it seemed like nobody had been there for years. They cautiously entered the cave, and as they proceeded, they noticed strange markings on the walls. The markings were like nothing they had ever seen before, and they realized they were ancient symbols of an unknown language. As they continued further into the cave, they heard a faint sound of someone or something moving. They followed the sound and found Orbweaver 9000, tied up and lying on the ground. They quickly untied him, and he told them what had happened. He had been ambushed by Floi and Ham while he was exploring the forest. They had taken him captive and brought him to the cave. They wanted to extract information from him about the group's plans and whereabouts. Orbweaver 9000 had refused to give any information, and they had left him tied up and alone in the cave. The group was furious and determined to catch Floi and Ham. They knew they had to act fast before they caused any more trouble. With Orbweaver 9000 safe, they continued their hunt for the villains. Chapter 10. Title: The Discovery. As the sun rose over the prehistoric landscape, the group of friends gathered together to discuss their plans for the day. They had been traveling for weeks, searching for a clue that would lead them to a powerful artifact that could save their world from destruction. Just as they were about to set out, Indom noticed something strange in the distance. It was a faint glimmer of light, shimmering in the morning sun. Curious, the group decided to investigate. As they drew closer, they saw that the light was coming from a hidden cave, deep in the heart of the valley. With a sense of excitement and anticipation, they cautiously made their way inside. What they found was beyond their wildest dreams. The walls of the cave were covered in ancient hieroglyphics, depicting a powerful artifact that had been lost for centuries. The group knew that this was the clue they had been searching for. With renewed determination, they set out to find the artifact, following the clues left by the ancient civilization. They faced countless obstacles and challenges along the way, but their friendship and determination kept them going. Finally, after weeks of searching, they found the artifact. It was a glowing orb, pulsing with a powerful energy that could save their world from destruction. With a sense of awe and reverence, they carefully picked it up and began their journey back to their world. But they were not alone. Unbeknownst to them, Floi and Ham had been watching their every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As the group made their way back to their world, Floi and Ham ambushed them, intent on taking the artifact for themselves. A fierce battle ensued, with the group using all of their skills and strength to defend the artifact. In the end, they emerged victorious, with Floi and Ham retreating into the shadows. With the artifact in their possession, the group returned to their world, ready to use its power to save their home from certain doom. But they knew that they had to be careful, for there were still forces at work that would stop at nothing to take the artifact for themselves. Chapter 11. Title: The Search for the Missing Egg 2. It had been a few weeks since Rob and the gang had arrived in the prehistoric world. They had spent most of their time exploring and observing the wildlife, but they soon discovered that one of the pteranodon nests had been raided, and one of the eggs was missing. Rob and the gang decided to help the pteranodon parents find their missing egg. They split up into teams to search for the egg, with Rob and Erebus leading one team, and Lemon and the Italian Paleogirl leading the other. As they searched through the dense jungle, they encountered various prehistoric creatures, including a group of Dilophosaurus that tried to attack them. But the group managed to fend them off and continue their search. Eventually, they found the missing egg in a nearby cave, guarded by a pack of raptors. After a heated battle, they were able to retrieve the egg and return it to the grateful pteranodon parents. As they made their way back to their camp, Rob couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. They had helped reunite a family and protected the future of the pteranodon species. Chapter 12. Title: Uncovering the Truth. As the group continued their journey through the wilderness, they stumbled upon an old abandoned laboratory. Intrigued, they decided to investigate. Inside the lab, they found a series of strange machines and experiments, as well as a hidden room filled with documents and notes. As they began to read through the papers, they uncovered a shocking truth: Floi and Ham had been working on a dangerous weapon that could potentially destroy the entire prehistoric world. Feeling betrayed and outraged, the group realized that their friends had been hiding their true intentions all along. They knew they had to stop them before it was too late. With a newfound determination, they set out to find Floi and Ham and put an end to their evil plans once and for all. Chapter 13. Title: Hidden Dangers. Erebus, Pu 238, and Indiyu were on a hunt to find a rare species of plant that was said to have medicinal properties. They had been searching for days, following the clues they had gathered from ancient texts. As they trekked through the dense jungle, they suddenly heard a rustling in the bushes. They tensed up, ready for whatever creature might emerge. But instead of a wild animal, they were shocked to see Floi and Ham step out from behind the foliage. "What are you two doing here?" asked Erebus, suspicion in his voice. "We heard about this rare plant and thought we could help you find it," Floi said, a smile on her face. Pu 238 and Indiyu exchanged a look of unease. They knew that Floi and Ham were up to something, but they couldn't put their finger on what. As they continued on their journey, they noticed that Floi and Ham were leading them in a different direction than the one they had planned. When Pu 238 pointed this out, Floi assured him that they were taking a shortcut. After a while, they came to a clearing where the rare plant was supposed to grow. But instead of the medicinal herb they had been searching for, they found themselves surrounded by Floi and Ham's henchmen. "We've been working with them all along," Floi said, a wicked smile on her face. "You were fools to trust us." Erebus, Pu 238, and Indiyu were outnumbered and outmatched. They had walked right into a trap. Floi and Ham's henchmen bound them up and carried them off to an unknown location, leaving them to wonder what their fate would be. They had been betrayed by their supposed friends, and now they were paying the price. Chapter 14. Title: The Secret Alliance. As the group continued on their journey, they stumbled upon a hidden cave that looked like it had been untouched for centuries. They cautiously entered, and to their surprise, they found Floi and Ham in the company of a mysterious figure they had never seen before. The figure introduced himself as Longo_Man, a powerful and cunning leader of a tribe of advanced prehistoric humans who had been living secretly in the area for generations. It turned out that Longo_Man had been secretly working with Floi and Ham for some time, planning to take over the island and enslave all the dinosaurs. The group was shocked and angry at the revelation, but Longo_Man made a convincing argument that his people had suffered greatly under the rule of the dinosaurs, and that they deserved their own place in the world. He promised to spare their lives if they joined his cause, but warned them that he wouldn't hesitate to eliminate any who stood in his way. Floi and Ham eagerly joined Longo_Man, lured by the promise of power and riches, while the rest of the group remained wary and unsure of what to do. They knew that they couldn't let this evil alliance succeed, but they were vastly outnumbered and outmatched. As they left the cave, the group resolved to find a way to stop Longo_Man and his minions, no matter what the cost. They knew that it would be a dangerous and difficult task, but they were determined to protect the island and all its inhabitants from the tyranny of these ruthless humans. Chapter 15. Title: Shadows of the Past. As the days passed, the tension among the group began to build. The discovery of the mysterious symbol had left them all on edge, and whispers of conspiracy and betrayal filled the air. Even the normally jovial B_Wither seemed withdrawn, lost in thought. Rob, Erebus, Lemon, Italian Paleogirl, Indom, Indiyu, JW, Totemaster, Pu 238, Orbweaver 9000, Valleyman Beans, and now Longo_Man had all gathered around the fire, each lost in their own thoughts. Suddenly, Ham spoke up. "I know we've all been feeling a little uneasy lately, but we need to stay focused. We can't let our guard down, especially not now. Floi nodded in agreement. Yes, and we need to keep an eye on anyone who might be trying to sabotage our efforts. We can't afford to have any weak links. The group fell silent, each lost in their own thoughts. They knew that the threats they faced were real, and that their enemies were watching their every move. But they also knew that they couldn't give up, no matter what. As the fire crackled and the wind howled outside, the group huddled closer together, united in their determination to see this through to the end. They knew that the gathering storm was only just beginning, and that they would need to be stronger than ever if they hoped to survive it. Chapter 16. Title: The Hidden Plan. As the group continued their journey through the prehistoric landscape, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Totemaster had been acting strange lately, and Pu-238 had caught him talking on his communicator device in hushed tones several times. One night, as they settled down to rest, Erebus confronted Totemaster. "What's going on? We've all noticed you've been acting weird lately." Totemaster hesitated for a moment before finally speaking. "I received a message from someone claiming to have a way to get us back home." Everyone's ears perked up at this news. "Who is it? What's the plan?" Lemon asked eagerly. "That's the thing," Totemaster replied. "They didn't say who they were or what the plan was. All they said was that they wanted to meet us at a certain location." The group was hesitant, but their desire to return home was strong. They decided to follow Totemaster's lead and meet with this mysterious person. As they traveled to the designated location, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Longo_man had joined them as a secret friend of Floi and Ham, but even he seemed on edge. When they arrived at the meeting spot, they found a figure cloaked in shadows. "I've been watching you," the figure said in a low voice. "I know you want to go home, but I can't guarantee your safety on this journey." The group exchanged wary glances, but their determination to leave the prehistoric world was unwavering. They agreed to follow the figure's plan, whatever it may be. Little did they know, this decision would lead them straight into the hands of their enemies. Chapter 17. Title: The Secret Alliance. After a long and tiring journey, the group finally arrived at their destination, a large cave nestled in the side of a mountain. Inside the cave, they found themselves face to face with a group of mysterious figures. It was the secret alliance of Longo_man, Ham, and Floi. At first, everyone was hesitant and cautious around the newcomers. But as they began to talk and share their stories, they discovered that they had much in common. They all loved prehistoric creatures and had a deep respect for nature. They also shared a common enemy, a group of ruthless hunters who were destroying the natural world around them. It was then that the secret alliance revealed their plan, to unite forces and take down the hunters once and for all. They knew that they could not do it alone, and they needed the help of Rob and his friends. At first, Rob and his friends were hesitant. They had never worked with a group like this before, and they weren't sure if they could trust them. But as they learned more about the secret alliance and their mission, they began to see that they shared a common goal. After much discussion and planning, the group agreed to join forces. Together, they would take down the hunters and protect the prehistoric creatures that they loved so much. It was the beginning of a new and powerful alliance, one that would change the course of their journey forever. Chapter 18. Title: Betrayal. It had been a few weeks since the group had left the plains and ventured deeper into the forest. They had encountered new species of dinosaurs and had even managed to make some new friends along the way. However, tensions were rising within the group. Erebus had noticed that Floi and Ham were acting strange. They would often disappear for long periods of time, and when they returned, they would be vague about where they had been and what they had been doing. Erebus had a feeling that something was off, but he couldn't put his finger on it. One day, when the group was setting up camp, Erebus overheard a conversation between Floi, Ham, and Longo_man. They were discussing something in hushed tones, but Erebus could make out enough to know that they were planning something sinister. Erebus knew he had to tell the rest of the group. He waited until the three were gone and then told the others what he had overheard. The group was shocked and didn't know what to do. They decided to confront Floi, Ham, and Longo_man the next time they saw them. However, when they did, the three denied everything and accused Erebus of lying. The group didn't know who to believe. As the days went on, strange things began to happen. Food would go missing from the camp, and items would be moved around. The group suspected that Floi, Ham, and Longo_man were behind it. One night, when everyone was asleep, Erebus saw Floi and Ham sneaking away from camp. He followed them and saw them meet up with Longo_man. The three of them were carrying weapons and were heading towards the rest of the group. Erebus ran back to camp to warn the others, but it was too late. Floi, Ham, and Longo_man had already attacked. A fight broke out, and in the chaos, Erebus saw something that shocked him to his core. Pu-238, one of their closest friends, was fighting alongside Floi, Ham, and Longo_man. It was a betrayal beyond anything Erebus could have imagined. The group fought back as best they could, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. In the end, they were forced to flee, leaving some of their friends behind. As they ran through the forest, Erebus couldn't help but wonder how it had all gone so wrong. They had started out as friends, but now they were enemies. And he couldn't help but wonder who else in the group might be secretly working against them. Chapter 19. Title: The Mysterious Cave. The group of friends continued their journey through the prehistoric world, making their way towards a rumored cave that was said to hold ancient artifacts. As they walked, they noticed that the terrain was getting rougher and the vegetation was growing denser. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a hidden entrance to a cave, which seemed to lead deep underground. Without hesitation, they ventured inside, eager to explore. As they made their way through the dark and winding tunnels, they noticed strange symbols etched into the walls. Erebus, who was well versed in ancient languages, recognized them as an ancient dialect that he had never seen before. Eventually, the group stumbled upon a chamber filled with ancient relics, including weapons and tools from a bygone era. However, they also found something else, a strange glowing crystal that seemed to pulse with energy. As they examined the crystal, they heard a faint humming sound growing louder and louder. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath their feet, and a horde of ferocious creatures emerged from the darkness, attacking the group with all their might. With no other choice, the friends fought valiantly, using their wits and their weapons to fend off the beasts. Just when it seemed like they would be overrun, the crystal suddenly glowed brighter and emitted a powerful shockwave, knocking the creatures back and stunning them momentarily. With this momentary respite, the friends took advantage of the situation and fled back towards the entrance of the cave. As they emerged into the sunlight, they looked back at the cave entrance, wondering what other mysteries it held within its depths. Chapter 20. Title: The Hidden Lair. After days of searching, the group finally discovers a hidden underground lair in the forest. The entrance is cleverly concealed by a large boulder that they manage to move aside. As they explore the lair, they discover it belongs to Floi, Ham, and Longo_man, who have been secretly working together. They find maps, blueprints, and sketches of various devices and weapons that they plan to use to take over the island and enslave its inhabitants. The group realizes that they must act quickly to stop them, but they are vastly outnumbered and outgunned. They hatch a plan to try to infiltrate the lair and sabotage their plans from within. As they prepare to execute their plan, they hear footsteps approaching. They quickly hide and watch as Floi, Ham, and Longo_man enter the lair, unaware that they have been discovered. Chapter 21, The Discovery. As the group continued their journey through the vast prehistoric landscape, they stumbled upon a strange cave system. Intrigued by the discovery, they decided to venture inside and explore. The caves were dark and damp, and the group had to rely on their torches to see. As they made their way through the winding tunnels, they noticed something peculiar. The walls of the cave were covered in strange markings and drawings that none of them had ever seen before. B_Wither, who had studied ancient languages, examined the markings closely. He could make out a few words here and there, but the language was entirely unfamiliar to him. They continued further into the cave until they stumbled upon a massive chamber. In the center of the chamber, they found a strange stone altar with an intricate design carved into its surface. The design was unlike anything they had seen before, and they could not decipher its meaning. As they were examining the altar, Erebus noticed something odd about the walls of the chamber. There were small holes scattered throughout the walls, and Erebus suspected that they might be hiding something. He decided to investigate further and used his pickaxe to chip away at the walls. After a few minutes of chipping away at the rock, Erebus finally made a breakthrough. He had uncovered a small opening that led to another chamber. Excited by the discovery, the group eagerly made their way through the opening and into the next chamber. What they found inside was beyond their wildest imaginations. The chamber was filled with ancient artifacts and treasures, some of which dated back millions of years. There were fossils of creatures that they had never seen before, precious stones, and even ancient weaponry. As they were examining the artifacts, PU-238 found a strange device that resembled a futuristic piece of technology. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before and seemed to have been made from an unknown metal. Excited by the discovery, the group decided to take the device with them and continue their exploration of the cave system. As they made their way back towards the entrance of the cave, they couldn't help but wonder what other secrets lay hidden within the depths of the prehistoric landscape. Chapter 22. Title: A Rift in Time. As the sun began to set on the prehistoric landscape, a sense of unease settled over the group of friends. They had been on the move for days, trying to stay one step ahead of the dangerous predators that roamed the land. But now, something else was troubling them. It was a feeling of foreboding, as if a storm was gathering on the horizon. They huddled together, unsure of what to do. Rob, Erebus, Lemon, the Italian Paleogirl, B_Wither, Indom, Indiyu, JW, Totemaster, PU-238, Orbweaver 9000, and Longo_Man, all of them were there. Even though they had been through many challenges together, this was different. This time, the danger seemed to be coming from within. Floi and Ham had been acting strange lately, and it was making the others nervous. They seemed to be hiding something, and nobody knew what it was. Longo_Man, who had become a secret friend of the two villains, had tried to get them to open up, but they refused. Suddenly, a deafening roar shattered the silence. Everyone jumped, their hearts racing with fear. They looked around, trying to locate the source of the noise. Then, they saw it. A massive T-Rex was heading straight for them, its jaws wide open in a menacing snarl. The friends scattered, running in all directions. But as they ran, they realized that something was wrong. The T-Rex was not alone. Dozens of other predators had joined the hunt, their eyes fixed on the group of friends. It was then that Floi and Ham revealed their true intentions. They had been working with a secret organization, one that sought to use the prehistoric animals for their own gain. And now, they had set a trap for the others. The friends were surrounded on all sides, with nowhere to run. They fought bravely, but it was clear that they were outnumbered and outmatched. It seemed that this was the end. But just when all hope seemed lost, a strange figure appeared on the horizon. It was Valley Man Beans, riding on the back of a massive pterodactyl. He swooped down, snatching up several of the predators in his talons. The friends rallied around Valley Man Beans, fighting with renewed vigor. Together, they managed to hold off the attackers, slowly but surely gaining ground. In the end, they emerged victorious. But the sense of unease remained, as they knew that there was more danger ahead. They vowed to stay strong and stand together, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Chapter 23, The Secret Meeting. The group of friends had been on the move for days now. They were exhausted, but they knew they couldn't stop. They were on a mission, and every second counted. As they trudged through the dense jungle, Erebus suddenly halted. The others stopped too, looking at him quizzically. "What's wrong?" Rob asked, concern etched on his face. "I sense danger," Erebus replied, his eyes scanning the trees and bushes around them. "Something isn't right." As if on cue, a group of raptors burst through the foliage, their sharp teeth glinting in the sunlight. The friends immediately sprang into action, grabbing their weapons and preparing to fight. But before they could even take a step forward, a loud roar echoed through the jungle, causing the raptors to scatter in fear. Everyone looked up to see Indom standing on a nearby rock, his massive form silhouetted against the sky. His eyes were fixed on something in the distance, and his body was tense, ready for action. "What is it, Indom?" Lemon asked, her voice trembling slightly. "There's a secret meeting taking place," Indom replied, his voice low and serious. "We need to investigate." Without another word, the group followed Indom through the jungle, their hearts pounding with anticipation. After what felt like hours, they finally arrived at a clearing. In the center of the clearing was a group of figures, all huddled together in conversation. The friends moved closer, trying to make out what was being said. As they drew nearer, they realized that the figures were Floi, Ham, and Longo_man. What are they doing here? Pu-238 whispered, his voice barely audible. I don't know, Rob replied, his eyes fixed on the trio. But we need to find out. The friends crept closer, trying to get as close as possible without being noticed. As they listened, they realized that Floi, Ham, and Longo_man were discussing a plan to take over the prehistoric world. We need to act fast, Erebus whispered, his eyes darting around the clearing. They're planning something big. Suddenly, Longo_man turned and looked straight at the friends, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. Who's there? He called out, his voice sharp and menacing. The friends froze, unsure of what to do. But before they could make a move, Floi and Ham had already started running towards them, their weapons raised. The friends sprung into action, their weapons clashing against Floi and Ham's as they fought for their lives. Longo_man watched from the sidelines, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. The battle was intense, and the friends were beginning to tire. But just as all seemed lost, a massive shape loomed over the clearing. It was Orbweaver 9000, his massive form casting a shadow over the entire area. With a roar, he charged towards Floi and Ham, his massive claws tearing through the air. The villains were no match for Orbweaver 9000, and within seconds they were defeated. Longo_man, however, managed to slip away unnoticed. As the friends caught their breath, Indom turned to them, his eyes shining with pride. We did it, he said, a grin spreading across his face. We saved the prehistoric world. Chapter 24. Title, The Hunt for Answers. It had been a few days since the group had arrived at the new location, and tensions were running high. Everyone was on edge, with the constant fear of being attacked by the unknown looming over them. They had managed to set up a small base camp near a large cave system, but it didn't feel safe enough. Rob was pacing back and forth, lost in thought. He had been trying to come up with a plan to find out more about their situation, but so far, he had come up empty-handed. Suddenly, he heard a commotion coming from outside the cave. He quickly made his way to the entrance, where he found Erebus and Lemon in a heated argument. What's going on here? Rob demanded. Erebus thinks we should head out and explore the surrounding area, Lemon explained. But I think we should stay put and fortify our base camp. I agree with Erebus, Rob said. We need to know what we're dealing with, and staying in one place won't give us any answers. The group quickly agreed, and they set out into the wilderness, with Rob leading the way. They made their way through thick undergrowth, keeping an eye out for any signs of danger. After a few hours of hiking, they stumbled upon a clearing in the middle of the forest. In the center of the clearing, they found a strange artifact. It was a metallic device, covered in unfamiliar symbols and markings. Everyone was wary of it, but Rob couldn't resist the urge to investigate. As he reached out to touch the device, he was suddenly engulfed in a bright light. The rest of the group watched in horror as he was lifted off the ground and pulled into the device. For a few moments, everything was still. Then, there was a loud humming noise, and the device suddenly shut off. The group was left standing in the clearing, unsure of what to do next. They quickly realized that they needed to find a way to get Rob back. They spent the rest of the day searching the surrounding area, looking for any clues as to where Rob might have gone. As the sun began to set, they stumbled upon a cave system that seemed to lead deep underground. Without hesitation, they began their descent into the darkness, hoping that they were on the right track. As they made their way deeper into the cave, they began to hear strange noises. They couldn't tell if they were getting closer to Rob or if they were walking straight into danger. Eventually, they came to a large cavern, where they found Rob, unconscious on the ground. Surrounding him were strange, humanoid creatures, unlike anything they had ever seen before. The group quickly sprang into action, fighting off the creatures and tending to Rob's injuries. As they worked to revive him, they couldn't help but wonder, what other dangers lay ahead in this strange, new world? Chapter 25. Title, The Calm Before the Storm. As the group traveled deeper into the dense forest, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The birds had stopped singing, and the only sound was the crunching of leaves beneath their feet. They knew they were getting closer to their destination, but they also knew that danger lurked around every corner. Erebus, who had been leading the way, suddenly stopped and raised his hand, signaling for the others to stop. "Something's not right," he whispered. "We need to be careful." The Italian Paleogirl nodded in agreement, her hand on the hilt of her sword. "We should proceed with caution. We don't know what kind of creatures could be lurking in these woods." They continued forward, moving slowly and deliberately. Suddenly, they heard a rustling in the bushes to their right. They froze, ready for whatever might emerge. To their relief, a small herd of harmless herbivores emerged from the bushes and continued on their way. But the encounter left the group on edge, realizing that even the smallest noise could indicate danger. As they continued, they came across a river that they needed to cross. The water was murky and deep, but they had no other choice. They waded into the water, holding their belongings above their heads to keep them dry. As they reached the other side, they noticed something strange. There were footprints in the mud, but they weren't from any animal they recognized. B_Wither leaned in for a closer look. "These prints are fresh. Whatever made them can't be far." JW unsheathed his bow and arrow. "Let's keep moving. We don't want to be caught off guard." The group moved quickly, their hearts pounding in their chests. They knew that the closer they got to their destination, the greater the danger. After what seemed like hours, they finally reached the edge of the forest. In the distance, they could see a massive structure looming over the treetops. "That must be it," PU-238 said, pointing to the structure. Orbweaver 9000 nodded in agreement. "Let's move in and get a closer look." As they approached, they saw that the structure was a massive castle, surrounded by a moat and towering walls. It was ancient and foreboding, but they knew they had to enter if they wanted to uncover the secrets within. Taking a deep breath, they approached the gates, not knowing what lay ahead. Chapter 26, The End of an Era. The day had finally come. The battle between the forces of good and evil was about to begin. Rob, Erebus, Lemon, the Italian Paleogirl, B_Wither, Indom, Indiyu, JW, Totemaster, PU-238, and Orbweaver 9000 stood together, united in their fight against Floi, Ham, and their secret ally Longo_Man. The sky was dark and stormy, and the air was thick with tension. The ground shook as the two sides approached each other, weapons drawn and ready for battle. "Floi, why are you doing this?" Rob shouted across the battlefield. "We were friends once. We can still work things out." Floi sneered. "Friends? You were never my friend. You and your kind have always been a threat to our plans. We will not rest until we have eradicated all of your kind from this world." The battle began, with both sides charging towards each other. The clash of swords and the sound of magic filled the air. Indom and B_Wither were locked in a fierce battle with Longo_Man, while PU-238 and Totemaster fought off waves of Ham's minions. Erebus and Orbweaver 9000 fought against Floi, who was using his powers to summon powerful lightning bolts. Lemon and the Italian Paleogirl used their combined skills to attack Floi from behind, throwing him off balance. JW and Indiyu worked together to take down Ham, who was wielding a massive battle axe. They managed to disarm him, but he continued to fight with his fists. The battle raged on, with both sides taking heavy losses. But slowly, the tide began to turn in favor of the forces of good. They fought with a determination that Floi and his minions could not match. In the end, it was Rob who delivered the final blow. He charged towards Floi with his sword raised high, and with one swift stroke, he struck him down. Floi fell to the ground, defeated. The battle was over, and the forces of good emerged victorious. They mourned their fallen comrades, but they also celebrated their victory. They had fought hard and had proven that they were stronger together than they were apart. As they stood together, watching the sun rise over the horizon, they knew that they had secured a brighter future for themselves and for the prehistoric world they lived in. Chapter 27. Title: The Gathering Storm Part 1. The group had been traveling for days through the dense jungle, following a narrow path that seemed to disappear and reappear at random intervals. They were all tired, hungry, and on edge. Rob was leading the way, scanning the area for any signs of danger. Erebus was close behind him, his keen senses alert for any threats. Lemon was struggling to keep up, her legs aching from the long journey. The Italian Paleogirl was walking alongside her, offering words of encouragement. B_Wither was in the back of the group, keeping an eye on their rear. Indom was up ahead, scouting for any signs of civilization. Indiyu was deep in thought, lost in his own world. JW was walking alongside Totemaster, exchanging stories and jokes to keep their spirits up. PU-238 was silent, lost in his own thoughts. As they pressed on, they began to notice subtle changes in the environment. The trees were taller and thicker, the air more humid. The sounds of the jungle were different, with strange calls and screeches echoing through the canopy. They were getting closer to their destination, and everyone could feel it. Suddenly, Rob stopped in his tracks, holding up his hand to signal the others to halt. He turned to Erebus, a serious expression on his face. "I sense danger up ahead," he said. "We need to be careful." Erebus nodded, drawing his sword from its scabbard. The others followed suit, readying their weapons. They moved forward cautiously, scanning the area for any signs of danger. It wasn't long before they spotted movement up ahead. Floi and Ham emerged from the underbrush, their weapons drawn. Well, Floi sneered. "Look who we have here. It seems we've caught you off guard." Ham laughed cruelly. "You're all going to pay for what you did to us. We'll make sure you suffer." Rob stepped forward, his eyes locked on Floi. "What do you want?" he demanded. Floi grinned wickedly. "We want revenge. And we're going to get it, one way or another." With that, the two villains charged forward, their weapons raised. The group braced themselves for the attack, ready to defend themselves with everything they had. The air was thick with tension as the two sides clashed in a fierce battle. Blades clashed, arrows flew, and spells were cast as the two groups fought tooth and nail. The sound of metal ringing against metal echoed through the jungle, punctuated by screams and cries of pain. Despite being outnumbered, Floi and Ham fought fiercely, their hatred for the group giving them a fierce determination. But the group was equally determined to protect each other, and their superior skills and training gave them the upper hand. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the group was going to emerge victorious. Floi and Ham were weakening, their attacks becoming more desperate as they realized they were no match for their opponents. In a final, desperate move, Floi charged forward, his sword raised high. But Rob was ready for him, and with a swift strike, he knocked the weapon out of Floi's hand. The villain stumbled, off balance, and before he could regain his footing, Rob struck him a final blow, sending him tumbling to the ground. Ham, seeing his partner defeated, turned and fled into the jungle, disappearing from sight. The group stood panting, their weapons at the ready, as they surveyed the scene. Floi lay motionless on the ground, his eyes staring blankly up at the sky. With a heavy sigh, Rob turned to the others. Chapter 28, The Gathering Storm Part 2. It had been a few days since the group had returned from their expedition, but there was an unease that had settled over them. The weather had turned, with dark clouds gathering on the horizon, and the air was thick with the promise of an impending storm. Rob, Erebus, Lemon, the Italian Paleogirl, B_Wither, Indom, Indiyu, JW, Totemaster, PU-238, and Orbweaver 9000 had all gathered together in the main hall of their base, discussing their next move. "We need to prepare for the worst," Rob said, his voice low and serious. "We don't know what's coming, but we need to be ready for anything." The others nodded in agreement, looking around nervously as the wind began to pick up outside. It was clear that they were all on edge, and the tension in the room was palpable. "We should start by fortifying the base," Lemon suggested, her eyes scanning the room as if she was already envisioning where to put barricades and traps. Indiyu spoke up next. "And we need to make sure we have enough supplies to last through whatever's coming." JW chimed in. "We also need to be on the lookout for any signs of danger. We can't afford to be caught off guard." As they continued to discuss their plans, the storm outside grew louder and more fierce. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and lightning lit up the sky in bright flashes. Suddenly, there was a loud crash outside, and the ground shook beneath their feet. Everyone looked around in alarm, and Rob quickly motioned for them to follow him. They rushed outside and were met with a terrifying sight. A massive tornado was tearing through the landscape, destroying everything in its path. The winds were so strong that it was difficult to even stand, and the rain was coming down in sheets. "We need to take cover," Rob shouted, his voice barely audible over the roar of the storm. The group scrambled to find shelter, ducking into nearby buildings and hunkering down as the tornado continued to wreak havoc. It was a terrifying experience, and everyone feared for their lives. After what seemed like hours, the storm finally began to subside, and the group cautiously emerged from their hiding places. The damage was extensive, with buildings destroyed and debris littering the streets. "We need to start rebuilding," Erebus said, looking around at the devastation. "But we also need to be prepared for the next storm." The others nodded in agreement, knowing that they couldn't let their guard down. As they set to work repairing the damage and fortifying their base, they were acutely aware that the gathering storm was far from over. Chapter 29. Title: A New Dawn. As the group continued their journey through the prehistoric landscape, tensions began to rise. There was a growing sense of unease among the group, as if something was lurking just out of sight. They had been traveling for days without rest, and the exhaustion was starting to wear on them. It was in the early hours of the morning when it happened. Pu-238 was on watch duty, keeping an eye out for any potential threats. Suddenly, she heard rustling in the bushes nearby. She tensed up, ready to spring into action if needed. But it was too late. Before she could even react, a figure emerged from the bushes and tackled her to the ground. It was Ham, one of their supposed friends. Pu-238 struggled against him, but he was too strong. She screamed for help, but the others were slow to wake up. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. Floi and Longo_man had joined forces with Ham, and together they had turned on the rest of the group. Lemon and Totemaster were the first to fall, taken by surprise as they slept. The Italian Paleogirl and Orbweaver 9000 managed to put up a fight, but they too were overwhelmed. Indom and JW tried to mount a defense, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. It was only Erebus who managed to escape, running off into the darkness. By the time the sun had risen, the once close-knit group had been torn apart. The traitors had fled, taking all of their supplies with them. The remaining members were left to pick up the pieces and mourn their fallen friends. As they buried their dead, a sense of anger and betrayal simmered in their hearts. How could they have been so foolish? How could they have trusted those who had turned on them so easily? They knew they had to regroup and come up with a plan. They had to find Ham, Floi, and Longo_man and make them pay for what they had done. It would be a long and dangerous journey, but they were determined to see it through. The betrayal had left a deep scar on the group, but they were not broken. They would rise from the ashes of their fallen comrades and seek justice. It was a solemn promise they made to each other as they set out once again into the unknown. Chapter 30. Title: The Final Battle Part 1. As the sun began to set, the group gathered together in the clearing, preparing for the final battle against Floi, Ham, and their secret ally, Longo_man. The tension was palpable as everyone went through their final preparations. Erebus and Rob double-checked their weapons, while Lemon and Italian Paleogirl went over their plan one last time. Indiyu and Pu-238 went off to set up traps around the perimeter of the clearing, while B_Wither and Totemaster began to draw protective runes on the ground. JW stood at the center of the group, his eyes closed as he focused on his connection to the natural world. He could feel the power of the forest around him, and he knew that he could use it to his advantage in the upcoming battle. Suddenly, there was rustling in the bushes at the edge of the clearing, and the group tensed up. But it was only Orbweaver 9000, who had been scouting ahead and had returned with news. "They're coming," he said, his voice low and urgent. "And they brought some heavy artillery." As if on cue, a loud rumbling sound echoed through the trees, and the ground shook beneath their feet. Everyone looked up to see a massive, armored vehicle rolling towards them, its guns trained on the group. "We need to take that thing out first," Lemon said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Italian Paleogirl nodded. "Erebus and Rob, you take the left flank and try to distract them. Indiyu and Pu-238, you take the right flank and hit them with everything you've got." B_Wither and Totemaster, you stay here and protect the center. JW, you and I will focus on taking down that vehicle. The group sprang into action, each member knowing exactly what their role was in the battle. Erebus and Rob charged towards the vehicle, firing their weapons and dodging the enemy's shots. Indiyu and Pu-238 emerged from the trees on the other side, unleashing a barrage of rockets and grenades. B_Wither and Totemaster drew their swords and stood guard, ready to protect the group from any enemy that got too close. Meanwhile, Lemon and Italian Paleogirl ran towards the vehicle, their hands glowing with a bright blue light. They worked together to create a powerful blast of energy, aimed right at the vehicle's weak spot. JW stood at the center of the clearing, his eyes closed in concentration. He could feel the forest around him, pulsing with life and energy. He reached out with his mind and summoned a pack of wolves, who charged towards the enemy lines, snarling and snapping at anything in their way. Despite the overwhelming firepower of their enemies, the group fought on, determined to protect each other and defeat the evil that threatened them. The battle raged on for what felt like hours, but eventually, the enemy began to falter. Erebus and Rob managed to take out several of the enemy's soldiers, while Indiyu and Pu-238's traps proved deadly for those who tried to get too close. B_Wither and Totemaster stood firm, their swords flashing in the fading light. And finally, Lemon and Italian Paleogirl's blast hit the vehicle's weak spot, causing it to explode in a burst of flame and smoke. The group stood in the center of the clearing, panting and covered in sweat and dirt, but victorious. They had fought against overwhelming odds and come out on top. But the victory was bittersweet. They knew that their enemies were still out there, waiting for their next move. And they knew that the Chapter 31. Title, The Final Battle Part 2. Rob and his friends had finally made it to the secret lair of Floi and Ham. They had been searching for it for months, but with the help of Longo_Man, they were able to locate it. The group cautiously made their way through the dark and winding tunnels of the underground lair, knowing that danger could be lurking around every corner. Finally, they reached a large chamber where they could hear the muffled voices of Floi and Ham. They crept up to the edge of the chamber and peered inside. There, in the center of the room, sat Floi and Ham, surrounded by their army of vicious dinosaurs. The two villains were deep in conversation, plotting their next evil scheme. Rob signaled to his friends, and they quietly spread out around the room, ready to attack. Erebus, Indom, and Pu-238 were armed with their high-tech weapons, while Lemon, the Italian Paleogirl, and JW had their trusty dinosaur companions by their sides. With a nod from Rob, the group charged into the room, their weapons at the ready. The battle was fierce, with dinosaurs and humans fighting side by side. B_Wither used his powers to control the creatures, while Totemaster used his agility to dodge their attacks. Despite the odds against them, Rob and his friends fought valiantly, determined to stop Floi and Ham once and for all. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the villains were defeated, and their army of dinosaurs lay motionless on the ground. Rob and his friends emerged from the lair, battered and bruised, but victorious. As they stepped out into the bright sunlight, they were greeted by cheers and applause from the people of the nearby village. They had saved the day once again, and the people knew that they could always count on Rob and his friends to protect them from danger. But as they made their way back to their homes, Rob couldn't help but wonder if there would be more evil lurking just around the corner, waiting for their next challenge. Only time would tell, but one thing was for sure, Rob and his friends would always be ready to fight for what was right, no matter the cost. Chapter 32, The Final Battle Part 3. The day of the final battle had arrived. The air was charged with electricity as Rob, Erebus, Lemon, the Italian Paleogirl, B_Wither, Indom, Indiyu, JW, Totemaster, Pu-238, Orbweaver 9000, Floi, Ham, and Longo_Man stood together, ready to face their greatest challenge yet. They had spent the last few days preparing, gathering supplies, and strategizing. They knew that this battle would determine the fate of the prehistoric world, and they were ready to fight with everything they had. As they approached the battlefield, they saw their enemy waiting for them. The ground shook beneath their feet as they charged forward, ready to meet their foe head-on. The battle was fierce and intense. The ground was torn apart by the weight of the giants that clashed against each other, and the air was filled with the roars of the combatants. Rob and Erebus fought side by side, taking on one of the largest beasts, while Lemon and the Italian Paleogirl used their agility to dodge attacks and strike back with deadly precision. B_Wither and Indom worked together to take down several enemies at once, while Indiyu and JW used their ranged attacks to support their friends from a safe distance. Totemaster and Pu-238 fought fiercely, their powerful blows crushing their opponents with ease. Orbweaver 9000, with its advanced technology, hacked into the enemy's system, causing confusion and chaos among their ranks. Floi, Ham, and Longo_Man fought bravely, their skills complementing each other perfectly as they took on multiple enemies at once. But it was clear that they were holding something back, as if waiting for the right moment to strike. The battle seemed to go on forever, but gradually, the tide began to turn in their favor. The enemies began to fall one by one, and soon there were only a few left standing. As the final enemy fell to the ground, the group let out a collective sigh of relief. The battle was over, and they had emerged victorious. But as they turned to celebrate, they saw something that made their hearts sink. Floi, Ham, and Longo_Man had disappeared. Frantically, they searched the battlefield, but there was no trace of their friends. It was then that they realized the terrible truth: their secret friends had been working with the enemy all along. As they grappled with this realization, they knew that they had to act fast. They couldn't let their friends get away with what they had done. With heavy hearts, they set off in pursuit of their former friends, determined to bring them to justice and restore peace to the prehistoric world once and for all. Chapter 33, The Final Battle Part 4. The sun was setting on the prehistoric world as Rob and his friends made their way to the center of the valley. They knew that this was it, the final battle against Floi, Ham, and their secret ally Longo_Man. The air was tense, and nobody spoke a word. As they approached the center of the valley, they saw the three villains waiting for them. Floi and Ham had their weapons drawn, while Longo_Man stood off to the side, watching with an amused expression. Rob stepped forward, his sword at the ready. "It's over, Floi and Ham. We're not going to let you hurt anyone else." Floi sneered. "You think you can stop us? We have the power of the prehistoric creatures on our side." Indom stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. "We've beaten you before, and we'll do it again. Bring it on." The battle was intense, with each side giving it their all. B_Wither's arrows rained down on Floi and Ham, while Totemaster's trap snared Longo_Man's legs. The Italian Paleogirl and JW fought side by side, their teamwork flawless. Rob faced off against Floi, their swords clashing as they circled each other. Lemon was at his side, her claws extended. They made a formidable team, and they fought with everything they had. But just when it seemed like Rob and his friends had the upper hand, everything changed. Floi and Ham began to glow with an eerie light, and their bodies started to grow and change. Longo_Man joined them, his body contorting into a grotesque form. Indiyu gasped. "They're not human anymore. They're something else." Rob and his friends were taken aback as the three villains transformed into massive, terrifying creatures. Floi became a giant serpent, her scales glinting in the fading light. Ham turned into a hulking, four-armed beast, his muscles bulging. Longo_Man became a twisted spider-like creature, his many legs scurrying across the ground. Rob and his friends fought valiantly, but the creatures were too strong. They were pushed back, their weapons no match for the villains' newfound power. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a figure appeared on the horizon. It was Vivexosaurus, his massive form dwarfing the villains. He let out a deafening roar and charged forward, his jaws snapping shut around Floi's neck. The battle raged on, with Vivexosaurus lending his incredible strength to Rob and his friends. The villains fought fiercely, but they were no match for the combined might of the prehistoric creatures and their human allies. Finally, it was over. Floi, Ham, and Longo_Man lay defeated on the ground, their monstrous forms shrinking back into human shapes. They were arrested and taken away, their reign of terror finally ended. Rob and his friends looked around, taking in the destruction around them. But they knew that they had won. They had saved the prehistoric world from evil, and they had done it together. As they walked away from the battlefield, Rob turned to his friends. "We did it. We really did it." They all nodded, grinning from ear to ear. It had been a long and difficult journey, but they had come out on top. And they knew that they would always be there for each other, no matter what the future held.